Hello, welcome to Rising Technologies. This is Harish. You are watching part 20 of Core Java video tutorial. In this session, we are going to learn about value of method of string class. The value of method converts data from any data type to string. This value of method is a static method which has several overloaded versions within string class for all of Java's built-in types, so that each type can be converted properly into a string. This method is also has an overloaded version for type object. This overloaded version can be used to convert any object into its string equivalent. Here is a list of various overloaded versions of this value of method from this string class. Look at this declaration. This method is declared as public method. It is also declared as static. That means you don't need a string instance to call this method. You can directly invoke this method over this type string. The return type of this method is string. Name of the method is valueOf. And look at this. Each and every overloaded version takes a different type of argument. That means this overloaded version takes an integer and it returns its string equivalent. Another overloaded version that takes a long integer and it returns its string equivalent back. Similarly, this overloaded version takes a float, this one takes a double, boolean, character array, and this last overloaded version takes any object and it returns its string equivalent. Let's have a practical look at this. In this sample program, I have this x variable of type float that contains some float value, and suppose I need to assign it to a string variable, or I just need to convert this float value to a string. So if I try to assign this x to this string variable, string reference actually, and let's try to print this, it will generate a compile time error. Look at this. It is saying incompatible types. Float cannot be converted to string. And it makes sense. Float value cannot be implicitly converted to a type string. So we can make use of this value of method to convert this float value to a string. So we know that this method is declared as a static method. So we can just call this method by saying string dot value of, and let's pass on this x. The type of this x is float. That means we are making use of this overloaded version of this value of method that takes the float argument and it returns its string equivalent. So the string will be assigned to this s1 and I'm going to print that string. So compile this and run this. Now look at the output. It has displayed 123.45. That means this value of method has successfully converted this float value to a string. Similarly, we can make use of any overloaded version of this value of method to convert the data from respective type to string type. Let's have a look at this overload. Suppose I have a boolean variable and this variable contains true, and if I assign this b to string, we know that this will again generate a compile time error because boolean cannot be implicitly converted to type string. So we can make use of this value of method again. So string dot value of and this boolean. Now compile and run this. Now look at the output. It has successfully converted this boolean to its string equivalent. So similarly, you can make use of any overloaded version. Actually, when we concatenate any data type to string, actually Java compiler implicitly call this value of method. Let's have a look at this sample piece of code. Suppose I have this n1 variable and this variable contains 123, and suppose I am going to assign a string with this n1. So what is actually happening here? This is a string object and this n1 is an integer. We have already seen that This plus operator actually concatenates this string with this number. But how this plus operator is able to perform this job? Actually, this n1 is being converted to string by implicitly calling value of method. So this line of code is equivalent to this line of code. So compile and run this. Look at it, it has same output. So here we are explicitly calling this value of method by passing this integer. This value of method returning a string that is equivalent to this number, and this string as well as this string is getting concatenated and it will be assigned to this s1. Even if I do not call this value of method explicitly, compiler will implicitly call this value of method to perform this conversion, and then it will concatenate these two string instances. Thank you for watching. For more details, visit our official site, that's risingtechnologies.in. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel.